If you've ever looked in the mirror and thought, what is happening? If you have felt disgusted by the aging process, trust me, you're not alone. This podcast is for the fierce women who want to feel powerful, sexy, and beautiful in their own skin. You deserve to look in that mirror and feel proud of what you see, not filled with self-doubt. Welcome to Your Unapologetic Life, the podcast with your host, me, Morgan Barkas. I also have a 90-day coaching program specifically designed for women like you who are ready to ditch the negative self-talk and step into their unapologetic selves. If you are ready to stop feeling stuck in that mindset and want to feel happy, light, and free, then I'm the coach for you. For now, settle in. Let's get ready to redefine what it means to live unapologetically. And hey, if you want to take the first steps towards that transformation, head over to morganbarkas.com and schedule a call with me to see if we're a good fit for my coaching program. Let's get into this episode. Yes.
Okay.
You ready, rock and roll?
I am. Let me see what the
One
hell
of the reasons I wanted to do this was because I noticed that when I get talking with women, I get like really fired up about what I'm doing and why I want to be a coach.
Yeah.
But if I do when I do a solo episode, it's more like I'm just talking, but I don't get that same because I'm not, I think maybe because I'm not interacting with someone.
Uh-huh.
And so it's not like I just want to share my story for the sake of sharing my story. It's more, this is the lead up to why I am doing what I'm doing.
I
This
think you
is
should
why
have
I
it too.
care so much, because I had a really hard time. And now, I mean, yes, when I was, my eating disorder started at 19 years old. So this is now, I'm almost 45 now. So a very different life stage. And
yeah, you sound like you're way better. Even from when we lived together.
Yeah.
You were still had these routines and fixation.
Mm-hmm.
And now when I watched your latest stuff, and I'm like, oh my God, this is where you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
That's what I thought when I was like, yes,
that's
you
awesome.
Just walk today and then you're going to hit the gym maybe another day of the week. And that's just how we should really, everything in moderation, do what feels right. Like that is, and you're finally there. And I wish we all could be there at 20, but you can't. Like this, why you go through what you go through.
Yeah. Well, and now it's different in that I struggle because I wanted to be so skinny. Lord only knows why. What's interesting too. What's that?
I'll never understand. I always was teased because I used to be so skinny, and people would say, you're anorexic, you're Skeletor. And I would see pictures of myself, and I would be very embarrassed. And I tried to, I just wanted to look like everybody else. And now I'm thinking, I had my kids and I put on weight, and I'm like, I've been always pretty happy. Like I could tone up but I don't really care about the number so much.
Yeah.
I can feel inflammatory stuff with my immune system happening when it does, but I never had a desire to be skinny because I remember 3rd through 8th grade, I was teased. I couldn't even wear like a junior size 0. I was wearing little girls 14s, and I felt super embarrassed about that. So it shows you like how different people's experiences can be.
Very different, because I grew up with a very, very tall and thin mom, and my dad was lean and tall, and the whole family. And I was genetically more like my paternal grandmother. She was short, she was curvy, and I thought, oh my God, that is my future if I don't control it. And even when I was in 3rd grade, sitting, I remember, back in those days in the 80s, and they had the hot pink, and the material was like the windbreaker, weird stuff. Or what. I remember the shorts, and I was sitting there, and Troy Hill, bless his heart, Troy, I have no animosity toward you, and I will never forget. He looked at me and he goes, you have fat thighs.
Wow.
I was in 3rd grade, but I've always been more of a muscular gal. I wasn't
never fat.
No, I know.
never fat.
But that, and my mom was like, "Oh my God, you still won't let that go." And it's like, "Oh, I'll let it go." I knew it wasn't true. It was a little kid who just made an observation. But to him, sitting on a seat with and I find them now to be muscular thighs that I'm perfectly happy with. Back
Yeah.
then, it was like, I have fat thighs, and I was in
Mhm.
third grade. I didn't know what that like. And then you
Yeah.
start hearing other people become conscious. And I had the opposite experience once I got to high school when I started to become anorexic for real. And I went from like a solid 120, I was probably about, to 95 pounds consistently through all of senior year and probably 2 years after that. So for about 3 years, I maintained between like 100 and 95 pounds. Uh, Women would
Wow.
say to me, "What are you doing? You look great. How do you get so skinny?" The guys were going to my brother and saying, "Is your sister ill?
Yes.
Is she
This is what
terminally
happened.
ill? Like, cause she looked way better before." And so it was so interesting, the different perspectives,
A
you know.
healthy man will do that. A healthy man in a relationship, out of a relationship, friends, brothers, whatever, friends will do that.
Yeah.
A man who tries to control you. I have a friend, a coworker friend who was told she was fat. She's tiny, still is tiny, and was told she was fat. He did, because she wasn't. He was doing that to control her, how she
Make her
felt about
insecure.
herself. And 10 plus years later, she still struggles with that. And
Is she
I
still with
just,
that guy?
no,
Oh, thank
no,
God. Cause
no,
whoo.
no, thank God.
Yeah.
But I still see it in her. And, it's a piece that she's still working on healing. And I just think it's disgusting that someone can, do that to you. That a bad person will do that to you. But you can tell, all these other men, they don't want a bony, painful person to lay with. That you are a woman. You are made to have children. Your body is supposed to be a certain way. That doesn't mean that we all have to look the same, but um, I think most men outside of, the unhealthy people.
Yeah. Well, and that was one of the things that I loved about the strip club is I went in thinking, whew, okay, if I'm going to do this, I got to, hair's got to be a certain way, body's got to be a certain look. I got to get in a certain amount of shape. And then I started dancing and it was like, huh, none of
Yeah.
these women, you
Hmm.
got short ones, tall ones, skinny ones, old ones, young ones, big boobs, small boobs, pointy boobs, saggy boobs,
Right.
all hairs of people. And other women were the ones that would ask me when I was teaching dance and fitness, and they'd be like, "Wow, you're really good at this. You should do it professionally." And I said, "Well, actually, I do.
Yeah.
I am a stripper on the weekends because I go to school full time."
Yeah.
And they'd be like, do you wear a wig?" And I was like, "Why? Why would I wear a wig?" And they're like, "Well, because your hair's short." I'm like, believe it or not, many men like short hair. There were
Right.
men that would specifically come in and go, "Where's the girl that looks like Pink?"
There are.
When my hair. So basically, what I was hoping is we chat, obviously, and just kind of bring out our stories
Yeah.
and how we met. And because to be
Okay.
honest, you and I mean, I knew of you in high school, but it's not like we hung out.
No, we weren't. We weren't
We weren't in the
any.
same grade.
No. Um, you were definitely, like, when I remember you, I remember he's like, she's really smart.
Oh, thanks. I
Like,
worked really
she's a
hard.
smart, good girl.
Yeah.
And I don't know, we just didn't. It was, our school was large enough that we didn't know everybody like closely, but it
Mhm.
wasn't so um small either.
Yeah, there were
You
probably
know,
what, 600 total, maybe
no, we're close to
800.
1,000.
Oh, really? Okay.
I think we had maybe two. I think it was like 259 ish that graduated, and then of course, there were some people that didn't. There was
Yeah.
maybe about 300 per grade. I don't know what they have now, but it was compared to, of course, here it was tiny. But there was definitely room to, like, I probably never talked to some people, but I know of them. And,
Yeah.
we weren't friends and we weren't not friends. So I just knew of you. And yeah, we just didn't really
Well, also,
have
I didn't go
routine.
out. I didn't go out until I didn't go to any parties. I didn't do anything. And
I
then
definitely was
see,
doing all that.
so for you listening, this is Julie Robinson. She went to high school with me in Rhinelander, Wisconsin, little old Rhinelander, Wisconsin, back in the 90s.
Go
Um,
Hornets!
I never cared about our town or the Hodag in any way,
Yeah.
shape, or form, really, until my niece and nephew started playing sports. And then it was like,
Mhm.
well, now I care because
Yeah.
go Hodags. And also we won what mascot of the year? Like in the whole
Yeah,
country,
I
we had the
voted for
coolest
that.
mascot.
Of course I voted for that.
Who did?
Yes.
What now?
You had to vote online.
Yeah.
And everybody was putting it out on Facebook. And of course I'm like, yes, we're gonna win this. All the way from
But we
Florida.
do have the coolest. When I even in the previous sales job I had, we had to do like a quick intro of ourselves and create like
Hmm.
a slide that we showed the team or whatever. And I put the Hodag on there and everybody was like, "What is that?" And I told the quick story about it, the background. And the
Yeah.
one guy was so juiced up about it, he went home and told his wife because he's like, "Isn't this the craziest story?" So I mean, the legend carries on.
Yes. I love it. I
So
love it.
anyway,
I'm proud of where we're from. I love
I am too.
that. I really feel we're so lucky. We could go home this moment, walk into a bar or into Walmart. Does Cyril? Oh no, Cirilli's. God bless Cirilli's.
It's a
Trig
release
is
of
still
squad.
there. We could walk into Trig's and somebody will recognize us. And
Yes.
how are you? It doesn't matter if we never talked in high school. Um, Somebody will, at minimum, say hello.
I
So,
wish you would have been with me one day. I was home for Christmas and I was looking at the craft beers because I'm a
hmm,
picky drinker. I don't drink a lot, but I want it to
yeah.
be delicious if I'm going to drink it. And um I'm looking at the beers and I see someone walk by and then come back and he goes, "There's trouble." And I looked on each side of me because I'm like, well, I'm not.
I'm like, I know, but wait.
I was like, "Me?" And I didn't recognize him. And he was like, "Hey, Morgan." And I felt so bad because it was Chad Gehrig.
Oh, God bless
I
Chad.
know. And he, in high school, I mean, high school's not easy for anyone. I think it wasn't
Mhm.
too bad for us because at that age, there was no internet. So if someone
Oh,
didn't like you, it was like, whatever, who cares? And there wasn't a lot of that anyway, I don't feel like. And
yeah.
I was pretty amicable. So I didn't really fit in any group. It was just I kind of floated around and nobody hated me or liked me. It didn't really matter. So, but he was so funny and kind and
Always.
never just the nicest person. And
He
when I found
really
out
was.
he passed, I was devastated for his
I
family,
cried too.
obviously.
I texted Carl.
Yeah.
I was like, did you, every time I hear something like that, where either one of us will be like, oh my God, did you hear,
Yeah.
and we're at that age where things are happening and far too young though.
Oh, that was way too young. And such a
But it
kind
was so
person.
sad. Yeah.
Funny, kind.
I couldn't even think of one. I couldn't think of any instance where he was anything but funny and kind.
Kind. Yeah.
Mhm.
So that being said, you and I never hung out because I was probably home. The only time I
You were
ever
a
went
good
to a
girl.
I was I
I
was
was probably hanging out with Chad.
I was in club and band. So I
Oh
was
yeah.
but anyway,
Dance team and
my parents
volleyball.
encouraged me. I think it was senior year. It was the last part of the year. It was like, just go. But then it was like you follow people into the woods. They're burning pallets, smoking weed, and drinking and playing heavy metal. I lasted maybe 15 minutes and I was just like, Irish
Yeah.
goodbye.
Yeah.
So I wasn't good at that kind of stuff. But anyway, we hooked up basically because of a Facebook post that I put on back in 2013, January 2013.
Hmm.
Do you have a recollection? Because I
I
know I was
do. I remember you.
driving while I posted that post.
I remember you. We had moved to Florida. Mm, well, now it's, how long ago was it? 12 years,
Because
13
it had to,
years.
I moved in January of 2013, so
So
you
it
had
was
been there
2
for a
years.
little while, right?
We had been there a couple years. And
Okay.
then I had Gracie. I need to have surgery. And you posted about hating it up there. And I was like, come down, just come down. We have an extra room. Just like, come hang out. I don't want to be alone. You can help me. I have 3 kids now, and Grace is a baby. And you were like, really? Like, yeah.
I mean, it was you like, and this is why for me, and I think I got this from my dad. When he puts something out into the universe, it happens. Like I don't. It's somehow he like
The
says this
only
is what's
way.
gonna
Yeah.
happen, and it happens. And I've
Hmm.
been like that too. And I posted,
Me
I think
too.
I'm gonna move to Miami. I don't know where I'm gonna live or what I'm gonna do, but I think I'm gonna come down there because I was staying in Destin at the time at a friend's house who
Oh, I didn't know.
generously.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Well,
Yeah.
because
Okay.
I thought, oh, I'll go move to Destin because at least I have a place to live. My friend was going to let me live in her townhouse that her family owned. So my mom came down, stayed for 2 weeks. She flew out. And then I thought, I can't live here. This town is so small. It's a tourist town.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll
There's,
ever have a date again in my life because it looks like everyone has mullets and they wrestle alligators. Like, I don't
yeah.
think this is a fit.
You might want to try one of those, just saying.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I
Oh,
did. I
Lord.
probably, if I would have stayed there long enough, I'm sure I would have.
Don't knock it.
Well, I
um,
know.
plus, it's
But
a little cold up there, but
God, it was gorgeous though. My mom and I
it's beautiful.
still we vacation in Rosemary Beach because it's very close by
I
and
love
it's
that.
gorgeous.
Yeah.
That being said, at that time in my life, I was 33, and I was like,
Hmm.
I want to have fun. I want to
Yeah.
be on the beach.
Have fun.
And so when I posted that, I remember I was driving this like burgundy colored Cadillac at the time, and I remember
I'll never forget the caddy.
And I remember you're like, well, just come down. And so I told my parents I was moving to Miami. They weren't thrilled.
But I'm
And
from Rhineland, so it's okay.
well, it's a big
Yeah.
move. I mean, you can't just jump in the
Yeah.
car and get your kid out of a pickle if necessary, even though I never ever was in a pickle. My brother was in many pickles. I was never in a pickle. But anyway, and it was just kind of like the big city, and
Yeah.
but I felt like a weight was lifted off me the second I moved down there. It was like I was
Mhm.
on an air mattress in your storage closet with the Christmas tree, but I was so happy. I was like, it's sunny every day. It's
I know.
warm. There are
I
people from all over the world here. People speaking Spanish and Russian and all the things. I
yes.
loved it.
I
So I
did.
was,
I did too. That's the same feeling. I'm still here.
yeah.
It can be frustrating, but it's also, I love it. It's just, I look out the window every day and I have my palm trees, and even if I go nowhere and do nothing, I'm not cold.
I'm not. Yeah.
I hate being cold. I love it here. I do. Um, and I knew you would feel that, and you needed it at that
I'm
point. And
I
I
still I
also,
still dream about it. There are 3 things that I dream about consistently. It's my dog that's passed, and then
mhm,
sometimes I dream about my current toy poodle, Apollo. So Eros and
mhm,
Apollo end up in my dreams on the weekly. The other one is dancing. Even though I've been retired since what was it, October of 2019, at least once a week I am in a strip club. Not one I even ever worked at. They're just I know that's what I'm doing. I'm in the locker room or I'm getting ready to go on stage or I am dreaming about that on the weekly. And then also Florida. Like last night I
yeah,
dreamt and this girl was going to teach this fitness class and I was like, "Where is this exactly?" And I was trying to pinpoint it cuz I knew I was in the South, but I was like, "I don't feel like this is quite Florida." But I almost dream about Florida. I miss it so much.
I know.
I miss
I
it.
love it. I also knew it was going to be an expensive move for you too. And I thought, well, I could use some help.
Yeah.
Have an extra room, like the whole downstairs. Nobody's going to be down there.
Well, girl, I came with $0, and I'm not exaggerating. I mean, it
I
wasn't.
know.
I remember when I left Minnesota, the woman I was, she was one of my therapy clients at the time, and I said, "I think I'm going to move," and she's like, "Girl, are you ready? Like, you're going to need at least $10,000. You're going to have a plan, and you're going to have a job lined up." And I thought,
No,
well, if I plan that, I'll never move. And I moved with like $0, 0 jobs, 0 anything. But
I
I made
know.
it. I made it
But
work.
that's how things happen. And, you know, you kind of got to learn to do that if you don't do that.
Yeah.
You
Well,
just,
and some people will be like, "You're so courageous," and I'm like, "Yeah," but my motto in life is, "If you don't try, you don't know."
right.
And there's certain things I won't try, like calamari. Certain things. There's certain foods that I won't eat because I'm either scared
Mhm.
I'll have an allergic reaction or it's gonna be disgusting,
Yeah.
squishy or something. But other than that, like experiences, sign me up. I want to
Yeah.
dive with great white sharks and jump out of airplanes. I already did that. I mean, I'm just like, sign me up for any life experience. I'll go anywhere, try anything. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've gotten there. It's different now. To be
The
very,
advice I remember you gave me driving into Miami said, always make sure your gas tank is full. I'll never forget
oh, I was worried. I was worried about you like a mom.
that.
I was like, you're not going to need to pay me or anything. I have a space for you. God, because it's so expensive down here. That's what I was thinking. But you've got to get down here.
Yeah.
We didn't even know each other really, but I just
Yeah.
knew your spirit from what you had put out online, um, on the Facebook, as we call it, as people, the Facebook.
Yeah. I don't even know if I was
Um,
doing the Instagram back then. Oh, I think
I
I
don't
was
know.
actually. That if I go way, 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 way to the very bottom few squares I have on Instagram, they're from when I was in Destin.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But
But
anyway,
yeah,
let's go back.
okay,
So you and I didn't know each other in high school. I mean, we knew of each other and we were not friends,
right.
but I just, as I said, wasn't all that social. And you were very social. I never missed
Mhm.
a school dance though, because I loved dancing.
It was fun.
Always loved dancing.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what was your experience growing up, how we did, and then maybe compared to mine, and sort of like what were big influencers at the time? For me, it was like 17 magazine, and
Yes, for
that's
sure.
it. Like I don't, we didn't even watch
On
a
the
lot of
cover of
TV.
17,
Yeah.
I thought, oh gosh, those girls have their skin is perfect, their hair, like how do they get like that? I have the subscriptions, the same as
Me too.
many of us. Um, yeah, it was definitely Noxzema all the way.
Yes.
The Noxzema girl, her curls, um,
Awesome.
you know, MTV, Brooke Burke, all of those things were so influential. And we definitely didn't have, I mean, now when I think of our dance routines, oh boy. I look at these girls now and all of the dances they do, and even my kids on Instagram, and things are so different. But it was so wholesome and innocent, and I loved it. I'm so glad that we grew up when we did, where we did. Um, but yeah, I had a lot of influence from uh, mostly my mom working hard. She was in school to be a nurse when I was really young and working at night, and then I had my stepmom too, who was a homemaker, and she was always home with us and doing all these crafts and baking. And I had the best of both worlds. I got to see nobody can do all of that. Nobody can be this career woman and be this homemaker all at once, which that's what I'm trying to do. They each had a partner and were able to have some help there. Um, it's really hard to do alone, and I never thought I'd be doing this alone. But I realized that I can't be perfect in all of those areas. I don't like to cook. I just don't.
Me either.
I,
I get
you
it.
know, and I don't really think about or want to plan meals. My mom was very good at that. My stepmom was very good at making sure that everything was decorated beautifully, and the cookies and the everything, and they were both really good at those things. But none of us are able to be everything, and that's okay. It's not expected, and I would never expect more from either of them, as they were influential to me either. But our friends too. Those are the most important people in your life when you're a teenager, and I'm seeing that now with my girls especially. Um, it is interesting. It is difficult, very difficult, um, today raising kids, I think.
Do you think, because for me, and you can speak on your side of it. For me, I don't know why I was so obsessed with being skinny, but I was. And I think it was influence of, the woman, the main character from Meet Joe Black, for some reason, she always sticks out in my head because she was very thin. And I don't know why I liked that look. And then,
Mm-hmm.
of course, like 17 magazine, all that. And
Mm-hmm.
the first time I actually liked a boy and thought I might actually end up making out with someone, I was almost 19, and I think almost 19. And I was obsessed with the idea of a flatter stomach. And I realized, oh, if I don't eat all day, I feel skinnier. And then that literally catapulted me into anorexia. So that was my entire senior year of high school. So
Wow.
anyway, I don't know why that became an obsession, and it just was, and it lasted for like 3 years, and then it morphed into other eating disorder, or disordered eating, I should say. But anyway, for you, did you have that? Did your friends influence? Because I don't think my friends influenced it as much as I just decided that was
Mm-hmm.
something that I saw as a value.
I don't think my friends influenced that as much as I think they do now. Or maybe it's from the outside. I feel like it's influential to my children. But going back on my own experience, I don't remember. I remember thinking my best friend Amy Vandenberg had the best abs. She did. She probably still does.
That's
And
all.
I loved them and I appreciated them. But I didn't have them. And but it didn't really bother me either. I just
Yeah.
kind of, I think I had a lot of other things going on in my life at that age, that were serious and scary, and I didn't have time to focus on my own body. My own body was telling me when it's time for my mom to make dinner, that means my stepdad is coming home. And that means I'm not sure what's going to happen or if there's going to be fighting. I feel nauseous. Like that was the cycle. And I didn't realize that cycle until, gosh, it was after I was even having children. I was probably in my 30s, like probably around when you and I were living together in my other apartment. The second time we lived together. Are we supposed to live together? Sister, wife? I don't know.
I'm wondering, maybe we should buy a house and then.
I come on. I put that out there. I already put that out there.
My mom recently read something where these women in California, I forgot how many, there were like 8 or 10 of them, and they all invested in this mansion. And because they decided, you know what, when we are retired, we're all going to just live in this community. And I don't hate that idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's not a bad one.
So let's go back to me moving into your storage closet.
Okay.
Or your storage space, which I think was a garage. It was a garage. It turned into a storage area. And now that I think on it, I don't for a second remember you judging me for dancing, because it wasn't like a big surprise that Morgan is going out for auditions,
I remember telling you which one to go to.
Yeah.
I was like, that's a nice one. It's classy. You'll be taken care of. And it's not, because there are definitely some not so nice areas.
God, yeah. I went to some of those just to see them, or I was with someone and they're like, oh, let's stop in here. And I was like, wow, I'm glad I don't work here.
Yeah. Can you imagine?
And tell me more about why you didn't judge me. And I ask because growing up in a small town, I knew in elementary school, and again, this is the age of no internet. I don't know how I knew anything about anything. I was in elementary school. I went to Pelican School. There was a woman that worked there occasionally. She would show up as like a teacher's aide, and she'd be like on the recess outside area. And she had dark hair down the middle, like she was just came still in the 70s and would have been the Ted Bundy type, right? And I remember people gossiping, and I'm like, what are you gossiping about? Like, what's going on? And they're like, she used to be a stripper.
Oh
And
my God.
again, I didn't even, I'm like, and I remember distinctly thinking, so? Like, I didn't like, I didn't even know what it was, but at the same time, I thought, who cares? Like, if
Right.
that's what she wants to do. I mean, I don't understand what the problem is here. And so,
Yeah.
and that was even me as a little kid.
Yeah.
I must have been like maybe fourth or fifth grade, and I just didn't
Mhm.
understand why there was this like weird gossipy, judgy thing. And then fast forward, when I was 26, I decided to start dancing so I could, one, because I was curious. Anything that I think I might want to do, I'm gonna go do it. So
Yeah.
I
Right.
just thought, I wonder what that would be like. And also wanted to go to graduate school full time. So for me, I thought, if I do this, even though it's in Minneapolis, Minnesota, it will follow me for the rest of my life. And sure enough, people, of course, in our small town started to find out or would know about it and question my parents in a way that they were looking for them to have to say it out loud.
Right.
And even all these decades later, so I was what, 26? I'm almost 45 now.
Hmm.
People will kind of like skirt around and ask my mom. And like questions that will lead to, and then my mom will be like, yes, Morgan was a stripper, like
Hmm.
what do you need to know about it, kind of thing. So and it was very difficult for my parents when I started. It was like, not that they cared so much about what other people thought, it was more like, you have a master's degree and this is what you're doing with your life,
Yeah.
like, I'm
Yeah.
confused. So
But
anyway, I say that to say, and I know specifically one of my friends from high school said, "Oh, yeah, I saw so and so once," and she said, "Oh, can you believe that we went to school with her? Like I was an abomination." So I'm
I
just
mean, we
wondering
don't know
why.
what
Tell me why you were
anybody's.
so open minded.
Well, my parents were very non-judgmental people, and they taught me that never to think you're better than anyone else because of this or that. Like, everyone has their own journey. Um, I mean, I just always remember them thinking that, like, we are not to judge. Like, that's not our job.
Hmm.
Um, and of course, I was raised Catholic, and you would think maybe it would be different, but
Yeah.
no, it was more focus on um, your, focus on yourself. Like, what other people are doing is really none of your business,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't have a reflection on anyone around. It's their own journey, and whatever they're doing is something they need to do, maybe for their life lessons, for their whatever. Um, I'm grateful for that because I do the same with my kids. It is really hard having um, my own teenager do things that I don't want her to be doing, but I am trying to keep those things in mind myself now. It's even greater, uh, direct, like, hey, now you deal with this kind of a thing, where it's really hard. But I do remember it didn't phase me at all. Um, that my first thought was um like, I gotta make sure that you don't go to a bad place. And then I second thought was, maybe I'm in the wrong career. um
That's awesome.
and then I thought, because I love dancing too, and I'm like, gosh, that would be fun. That would be fun. I would love to do that. But I had my shoulder injury. My first goal when I was 18 was to go into the Army. I was engaged. I was ready to do that, and I could not pass the physical.
Mm.
Um, I already had arthritis. By 20, I had arthritis. I had my first surgery, second one at 21, and a total shoulder replacement last year. Total. So I could not do some of the things I wanted, which, I could not climb a pole. Maybe I could have climbed a pole, but I couldn't do those acrobatic moves. I don't know. I didn't
I
even know
promise
that
you,
they.
I didn't either. I didn't.
Oh my good God.
I never did any of that stuff at work.
I know one place where they drop right to the floor from the
Well,
top
actually,
of the.
where I worked, they did. There were the girls that did. I just
Wow.
was never one of those girls.
It's pretty amazing. Some of these, it's a talent,
Well, now
100%.
they're starting
Art.
to do the hoops,
Oh,
the
wow.
lyra, yeah. So there's
Yeah.
a lot
With the,
of lyra
just the
performers.
hoop or with the,
No, like the hanging down, you get in the hoop and then you do all kinds of stuff with
oh,
it.
cool.
Yeah.
That
I
sounds
I
like fun too.
I follow Scarlett's on Instagram. I still
I
love
should
me some Scarlett.
too. That's some good entertainment. Like they
Yeah.
are
And it's changed
real
over the
entertainment.
years. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I always just thought of it as I mean you're getting paid. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do.
Mm-mm.
So, I don't know, it never really fazed me. It didn't, not in the slightest. I really have to thank my parents for that. And then the way that they raised me was just not to be judgmental and that everybody has a different story. Of course, maybe if it came down to it and I was doing something, maybe that those things would change. I'm sure I did plenty of things they didn't want me to be doing
Mm-hmm.
in high school. And it's just life lessons, and of parts of your life. I thought it was great that you were coming down and I was just excited and was like, okay, well, I'll come see you at work.
Well, and I lived with you for that time. It was like maybe 2 weeks to a month because I was able to find a place in Aventura pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And then we ended up living together again in Pembroke Pines.
Yes. Oh my God.
That was
That
a
was,
harder time for me because I was like, okay, I'm almost 35. Like, how long am I gonna keep doing this? Not only physically, it's very taxing,
yes.
and it's like I know that I'm meant to do something else. Like
Hmm.
yes, I do have a master's degree and I didn't choose to get licensed as a therapist. And I like to help people and I want to
Hmm.
serve people. So it was like,
Hmm.
what am I? So I was doing it to survive, but at that point it was like, what am I going to do with my life?
Right. And you're setting goals and trying to figure out the next steps.
Mhm. Didn't want to be a career stripper. Although
Yeah.
everybody ages out eventually.
Yeah.
Although there was this one gal when I was still working in Minneapolis, and she was from Canada. And in the locker room with all the lights on, I mean, I could tell that she was 50 and
Hmm.
great shape, outgoing personality. And she's like, yeah, my husband's in the military. So when he is off, I just travel around and dance at different clubs. And I was like,
Wow.
you go, girl. Like,
That's awesome.
yeah, 50.
Wow. I can't
Physically,
even.
I couldn't do it. Right now, I
No.
could do a little dance in my shoes for like 3 to 6 minutes tops, and then it's like, and that's all my knees can take.
Yes. Right?
Yeah, think about the
That's more
hours
than
upon
most people.
hours I used to be in those heels, and now it's like
I know.
physically almost impossible.
Yeah. That's a feat for sure. I can't imagine
Well, I
doing
appreciate you not judging me. Yeah, I never got that at all. Like you were always open, super supportive, always.
it. Yeah. Well, good. I'm glad that you got the vibe because I just didn't really cross my mind. Like I don't care. I care about you. I don't care what you're doing. Like as long as you're safe and hence the right strip club to be at.
Hmm.
Like I didn't want. I was a little concerned about like where you're gonna end up. Um, Maybe I could nudge you in a direction, but yeah, those things are just. I mean, and that's nothing compared to a lot of other things people are doing. So
Well, and the
it just.
business changed over the years. I mean, I started
Mhm.
in 2006, and it really was, dare I say, classy. I mean, it was like and there were, I mean, it is a little bit misogynistic and all the jazz, but I mean, when I first started working, it was like have to wear a certain kind of dress, a certain amount of jewelry, have a certain amount of weight. I mean, you can't be there were like you picked up a
Some
few.
standard.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
was like, you've picked up a few too many pounds. You're gonna have to get that in check. You need to go upstairs and change, or you need to put more, sparkly rhinestone jewelry on, or whatever it was. I mean, there were pretty high standards. Couldn't have a lot of tattoos, like things like that. Even when I went to Scarlett's, because that was in
Mhm.
Minneapolis, and it was only topless in Minneapolis. Moved down to Miami.
Mhm.
Scarlett's was like fully nude, like
Mhm.
it open till 8 in the morning. I mean,
But
Minneapolis.
so is the beach.
What's that?
So is the beach. So it doesn't really.
Yeah, there was like no time,
Yeah.
but there still were standards. Like I
Yeah.
remember even the small. I say small, but I mean I have a small amount of tattoos compared to some. I have on my back and on
Yeah.
my side, and I remember the manager saying, "Don't get any more tattoos. Like
Mm.
you're already kind of like tipping at too many tattoos because it was like
Right.
tattoos are trashy, if you will." And
Mhm.
now it's unreal. I see girls working and they got tattoos on their face, on their neck, all over their body. Like the standard is
It is.
way different than it
It's
used to be. And the accessibility. So, I sound like a grandma over here, but when I first started, there was no Snapchat, no OnlyFans, no nothing online. And so
that.
gentlemen
Mhm.
had to come in and be entertained. There was no touching, there was no grabbing, there was no solicitation. I mean, you could try to solicit, but it was like, nah, I want to keep my job. I'm good. And I don't want to end up in a body bag because I can't
Right.
guarantee that I'm safe if I leave this establishment.
Yeah.
And so there were really pretty classy rules around the whole industry, really. And then, so that was what, 2006, 2007. Then we move into the like 2017, 18, 19. I would say 18, 19. It got to the point where it was like men soliciting nonstop, not wanting to pay for your time in an establishment, only coming there to try to get you out. And then also, girls like find me on Snapchat and find me on OnlyFans. And I was
Uh,
like, I'm
yeah.
not doing that stuff. Like, I don't want to.
Mhm.
I want to come here, have a good time. This is where I work. And then I go home. Like,
Right.
I'm here almost like I'm an actor and this is my theater. And this is
Right.
where we have our really great time. And then we all go our separate ways. So, because this was
Right.
all pretend. So, or it's
So
almost like
did.
role play. It was fun, but it wasn't real life. But to me, it
Right.
started to bleed into real life. And I'm like, I'm not a prostitute. I'm not leaving. I don't care how much money you offer me. I don't want to put my life on the line
Right.
to leave with
How
a
do you
stranger.
think that, um, going back with your body image issues, how did it change? Or did it change? Did it help you? Or did it make things worse being in that industry?
That's a great question. It
Seeing
literally,
all those different bodies, all those different women, it could go either way.
I had a friend that asked me, she's like, I'm surprised it actually made you like it cured you versus and helped you versus it hurt you. Because she said, I would think being around more women, now you're all comparing yourselves and you're critiquing each other and um
Right.
you feel even less than. And in my experience, I can't speak for everyone. My experience was the complete opposite. Like I walked into the industry at 26 years old thinking that I was not fat, but I was like, I'm not super fit. Definitely couldn't be in Playboy. I got like kind of saggy boobs, and I definitely don't have, you know, super tight stomach, and like all these things that you would see that were photoshopped in a play
I was going to
like that.
mention,
That
well,
was in
you
my
definitely
head.
could do all of that.
What's
I
that?
really think you could have.
What?
I said, you definitely could have been in all of those Playboy magazines and all of that because those women don't really look that way either. I mean, we could see videos, but they're wearing the tights under those bunny suits that are, like Skims, and everything they have on. It's there's some help.
Oh, and Photoshop's a beautiful thing. I did a
Yeah.
photo shoot with a guy once just for fun, and he's like, "Hey, I got a new light, and we'll like do like faux Playboy because I promised my parents nothing
Yeah.
in print."
cool. Yeah.
Nothing in print. So I promise I'm like, I won't submit them. I'll do. And yes,
Oh.
Photoshop is a beautiful thing. He can lift things, move things, tighten up waists and things.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, real life women are gorgeous. And that's for me, the fun thing between male strip clubs and female strip clubs. When you go and see men dancing, men are not I find them very aesthetically pleasing, depending on
Sure.
how good a shape they keep themselves in, or just a body type preference. For me, I like the cornerback body type, long, lean,
Mm-hmm.
muscular. But that's just me. And
Mm-hmm.
and same with, like, if I'm looking at a woman and I think, wow, she's gorgeous, because it's like that's what I find aesthetically pleasing. What I
Mm-hmm.
loved about dancing was, like, for the guys, I would go see male strippers for fun, because once you're in that industry, you kind of like go to events or you go to a conference, believe it or not, and like
Right.
there's like
Right.
male strippers, and they almost have to like put on a routine. They have to have an outfit, and they have to be a fireman
Yeah.
or a police
Yeah.
officer. Like they have to like put on, like, women just walk out and they're just like elegant and beautiful, and
It's
they don't have to put on like this whole like I'm a character now.
yeah.
But anyway, but women do love a man in the uniform, so
Sure.
But anyway, so for me, it was like when I started dancing, I realized, like, there was one girl in particular, her name was Violet, and she made good money. She was super confident in herself, and
Mm-hmm.
she was curvy in all the right places and everything, but it wasn't the Barbie doll thing I was thinking, like
Right.
blonde, tall, skinny, long legs, big boobs, all the things. She was
Right.
just an average, beautiful girl next door kind of thing. And I remember a particular one of my customers, his brother-in-law would occasionally visit. And I said, you got to meet Violet. And he fell in love with this girl because of her personality. And she was confident in herself. And it wasn't because she was maybe when a guy would walk in and think, there's the Playboy girl. It was just, wow, I'm really drawn to this person. And so my whole perspective on beauty standards changed and body image issues, because I just thought, I'm making money, that girl's making money, and I don't even, to me, think she's that attractive. But it isn't my opinion that matters. It's all
Right.
these people. Everybody finds beauty in someone else.
Exactly.
And just because maybe she looks different than that girl, that doesn't mean that she's not like way funnier. Or I don't know. It just became very obvious that looks weren't everything,
Mm-hmm.
and how you looked mattered less than how you carried yourself and what
Right.
you believed of yourself. If you thought, I'm the queen of the world, like I work here because why not? And
It is mindset. It's how
it
you set.
was, and it
It still
totally
is
changed.
in every area of everyone's life. It's how you set your mind. If you're gonna
Oh, absolutely.
be
Well, I think
positive.
now we're getting older, so women either are really struggling with age or they're not.
Mhm. Yeah.
And someone will say, "Well, I'm starting to feel invisible." I'm like, "To who?
Mm-hmm.
Like, who are you worried about being visible to?" Or
Right.
I've picked up some weight, and that is frustrating. And that is the reality. You can always work or maybe you need hormone replacement, or maybe let's take a different look at your diet and movement routine, because as we get
Right.
older, that maybe needs to change. Like you were
Mm-hmm.
saying, for me, that I'm in a much more relaxed place with my eating and movement regime, because I
Mm-hmm.
realized I was being so rigid and it wasn't helpful.
For nothing.
Yeah.
I thought you were so beautiful, and you were. I just remember you working so hard to maintain a certain weight or look, and I thought, you don't have to do all that. Like, I'm not doing nothing. Like,
And
I
I'm
am
still
just
killing
trying
in
to
these streets.
sleep.
That's funny.
Oh,
But yeah,
but
it was a beautiful experience for me, because one, the camaraderie of the girls, and I know in your industry, even though you're a nurse, totally different. There's a lot of women, and
mhm,
there's power in being around other women. And I found, especially even more so than Minnesota, even though it's Minnesota nice, I found that the women in South Florida were even more welcoming and like supportive.
I
There
think
was
because
just
we're
an openness.
so different. There's so many different cultures There's no way you can 100% compare yourself to this Latin woman or this Haitian woman or this whatever.
Russian, yeah.
So many different mixed. It's impossible for you to look at someone the same way. It's more appreciation, I guess. I feel the same way. I feel the same way.
What concerns me a little bit about nowadays, I've noticed, because I do love fashion. So if like the Academy Awards or the Oscars come, and I like to just look what everyone's wearing,
Mm-hmm.
and I've noticed that we're getting back to heroin chic. And I'm a little worried about that because it is one, we're not a movie star, and that's okay. So
Mm-hmm.
comparing yourself to someone like that is impossible anyway. And then on top of that, I just feel like, yikes, is this the look we're going for? Because we're talking almost skeletal at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
And it feels scary to me that this is happening again. I know everything comes and goes, just like fashion. I'm just
Right.
concerned that this obsession with skinny.
We don't. I hope we don't go that way because we finally got to this. You know, we got to this consciousness of that we're all like a regular body is okay, and then like enhancing those bodies became the big thing, top and the bottoms, and how crazy that looked for a while, and then
Yeah.
now to go back to, I know a lot of people are like myself, I did have breast implants. They were definitely making me ill. I had them removed. I began to like find being comfortable with like the body I always had, which I always was comfortable, was just after having kids, and I was kind of influenced to do this, and never felt better since that happened. Um, but I do see also, that I'm putting together what you're saying, the big jeans again. We're going back to these like baggy clothes on a
Janko
skeleton.
jeans.
Yeah, but a baggier look on a very thin, frail body. Like
Mhm.
how it is kind of coming back. And I hope we don't get all the way back there. Because I think we've made so much progress as a society as accepting women for normal bodies. But the trends do evolve and they do circulate and they come back.
Mhm.
I don't know if that comes and goes with the way drugs are, the availability of drugs, what's cheaper right now. I have no idea.
Mhm.
But back then was like heroin and cocaine and all these thin women with just clothes hanging off their body. Um, I'm not sure.
I wonder about that too because I never, like I said, I don't know why I wanted to be as skinny as I was. And I say that because one of my girlfriends is a fitness and nutrition coach, and she talks about how we were conditioned in our society for women to be smaller and stay quieter. Like, so the smaller we were, the quieter we were, the better. And I feel
Oh,
like both you and I were raised by women that were like, do not tell me what to do, what to
of course.
think, what to say. But I
Yes.
also realized my mom really valued being strong. And I
Hmm.
have, even though I did have my anorexic phase for those years, I started to prioritize being strong over
Hmm.
skinny. And I noticed
Hmm.
my mom is still a strong, I mean, she's 70 and she had, like went in for some tests and stuff because, you got to do your stuff every so often. And people were like, how old are you? And
Yeah.
they're looking at my parents and they're like, do you guys like work out or like P90X? Because they have, even though their muscle mass is not what it was in their 40s or even 50s,
Right.
at 70, they have maintained being strong. And so I feel like you and I were raised by strong women.
Yes.
And it seems like,
I do. He just ran a
where's
half
the line?
last
Huh?
year. He's 70. Oh, he's turning 70 this
Who?
year. Dad.
Who? Your dad? Okay.
He was very, like athletic. Maybe not strong was the push, but being athletic and playing sports, learning, sportsmanship. Those were his main things he was teaching me at a young age. I watched him work out all the time. He coached basketball, and he was really athletic. And now this man is last year ran a half marathon with my sister, and sort of challenged me a bit in a passive way to do it this year because he's turning 70. And I was
Yeah.
like, I really don't want him to beat me at this, but really? Like, well, I really haven't even decided. I don't know if I'm going to do it. I haven't even started training. I may walk.
I
I
was
don't
going
know.
to say, you can always walk it.
Yeah.
Walk. So you having kiddos, my curiosity then is,
Mm-hmm.
because like I said, unfortunately I did have a bout of the anorexia and wanting to be super
Mm-hmm.
skinny. And then it came down to, oh, this isn't my worth. Like, and
Mm-hmm.
for me, that was dancing. Like, it was like, wow, okay. So people are paying money to spend time with me. It's not because of how much the number is on the scale. It was like, they like my personality, they like whatever it is.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and like, for instance, with aging, but so it's that piece, like you and I are both in an age
Mm-hmm.
where we could start freaking out about aging. And then you also are raising our next generation of young ladies.
Yeah.
So you get both perspectives. Where, I guess the other thing between heroin chic, but what also concerns me is Jay Shetty said something on a podcast recently that I was like, oh my God. He's like, when he was a monk for the few years he's like, there were no mirrors. Like, I never saw myself unless you like were walking by a storefront, or, he's like,
Oh,
you're
you're
not
so,
so obsessed with your looks, because he's like, you
yes.
just aren't looking at yourself all the time. And we are
You're
raising a generation of kiddos that are constantly looking at themselves, posting things of themselves, then comparing themselves to those other people. So, like, how much of our worth, it's hard, I guess. I'm wondering, as
like how,
women, because like I said, some women will say, I can't stand my face. I hate my face. I'm disgusted that I'm getting older. And it's like, but you are. Like, there's not a thing you can do about it. So you
right.
either are hate it and are disgusted with yourself, or you're like, heck yeah, I've made it
Yeah.
4 decades, going on 5, and I'm doing pretty good. Like, there are all
Yeah.
these other things that I'm not just my face. But how do you do that with young kids too? Because now you're
Oh,
looking at,
it's so
teens.
hard.
Because how are you helping them realize that their worth is so much more than just
Right.
this?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
It is really hard. Part of it is because I took those breast implants out. My girls saw me, my son as well, go through that and help take care of me. And you know, some people have said it was really courageous of me to do that, and I was like, I don't understand that. I had a contracture 2 times, and how many surgeries am I gonna have for boobs? Like, I don't even care anymore. I don't care if I have them. I just want to feel better. I don't want to have pain. I don't want to look awkward. And getting them out was, I remember the girls saying, "Oh my God, why did you even do?" Like, they couldn't understand why I did that.
mm-hmm.
And I think there's a little bit is okay to do, something if it's making you feel better. It wasn't something I really desired, and I was just influenced at the time that it would be a good idea. And I didn't really ever think about it seriously. Um, so getting those out, I think the girls got to see me go through that, and then of course, that's one thing. But then the aging and having a friend who does Botox and injectables and things like that, I had never done anything like that. And when I turned 40, I thought, my girlfriend was going to practice on me. And I'm like, sure, like, let's just see. I hope I don't have my eye paralyzed. And I did it. And honestly, I love it for the clearness that it gives my skin, not necessarily the wrinkles, or it's like makes the texture nice. And I definitely don't have like I go every, so I just, if I'm feeling It could be like 5 months, sometimes 4 to 6 months before I do it. And I'll do a little bit in my forehead. That's kind of a hard thing because it does make me feel better and it helps my skin tone, which is more about what I care about than wrinkling.
Hmm.
Like I don't really care about getting it here around my eyes or anything. Um, I struggle with that because why is that okay versus I guess there is no right answer. There really isn't. If something makes you feel good and it's not hurting anyone else, okay, do what you want to do. Um, and I want them to see that too, that I'm not overly concerned about aging. I know that I'm getting
Hmm.
these and um
Yeah.
and I have done some of I did do I was like my girlfriend's model. She just wanted to try these new techniques on me. I was like, okay, yes, this is free. Uh-huh. I'm signed up. But I also don't make it a priority. It is not on my calendar. Um, I don't, it's also expensive when you do pay full price or even friends and family discount. It is still expensive. So all of that has to be taken into consideration and what is really what really matters to you,
Well, what I was going to say is, even if it is on your calendar and it's something you're doing consistently, just like I work out almost every single day because that
Yeah.
is what I do. I go, I journal, I shower, I go work out. It's just part of my day. It's just what I do. It's on the calendar. That being said, it's not the only thing that defines me. I'm not in there because I have to reach this goal or have to be this weight or be able to increase my weight by this much or there's a
It makes you feel
competition
good.
coming up. I'm doing it because it feels good and I
Yeah.
love doing it. For
Hmm.
you, that's why like Botox or not, I feel like for you, you like how it looks. Great. I like how biceps look. Great.
Yeah. And
And it's
everyone's
not the
different.
only thing that's defining me.
Right.
How muscular I am is not my obsession and the only thing that's driving me as a human. Or when I get naked with somebody and roll around and have a good time, I'm not worried about how much muscle mass I have and if my
Yeah.
biceps look good. Like it's something that's important to me, but it's not the
Right.
only thing that's important in my experience. And I feel like you too. It's like even if Botox was on the calendar every month,
Hmm.
I know you enough to know that you're not running around obsessed
No,
with how your face looks.
definitely not.
Like so much more of you is and you don't walk around
Yeah.
thinking I'm not as worthy or I'm not as attractive unless I have
Right.
these things. I don't see you as that.
Right.
So
No, and I always
it's that
felt,
balance that I guess I'm talking about. Like you care about
yeah,
yourself, you do what you can because you want to, but it doesn't define you.
right. I think the harder part is how do I teach my kids that? Like
Yes.
Maddie will complain about thinking her nose is this way. And I'm like, my nose didn't stop. I felt like it was too big. And now when I look back at pictures, it does not look the same as when I was 18. It does not look the same even when I was 20. Your body does change and
Hmm.
I wouldn't ever, and even when you do have surgery for a nose especially, there is a waiting period. A lot of they don't want to do it when you're young. Your face is still changing a lot,
Hmm.
and having children can change certain things about your face. um, I just hate for young people to make decisions like that, um, when you're nearly not done nearly growing or changing, and we're always changing. But um, I thought I just couldn't believe that that was something that bothered her. But I also have to respect that because I have my own things, um, and teaching her that like maybe now is not the right time,
Yeah.
and showing her my own experiences. But I'm not going to uh, I'm not going to pay for it. I'll tell you that. Number two,
Well, and
I'm not going to judge her if she does.
I would encourage her to say, I don't know if you've ever heard of Byron Katie's work. I
No.
I heard of it and then I just it kind of passed through And then when it came up again, and I was like, oh, okay, I've already looked into this gal. So I ended up buying her audiobook and listening to it. And then I downloaded her workshop or worksheet. It's like a sheet or two, but it's like any thought you have, you write it down, and she kind of like walks you through how to turn it around. And I guess when I think about your daughter, and I think, to who? Like, her nose is too big. To who? Who says?
Mm-hmm.
Based on what? And like, and I always, and going back to the kid that told me my thighs were fat when I was in third grade,
Yes.
I ended up dating someone who I loved very much, who told me, I love your hamstrings. I love
Yeah.
how strong your legs are. And I was like, really? And I say that because sometimes someone might say to your daughter, you have the most beautiful face in the world. I love how your nose does whatever,
Mm-hmm.
because it is perfectly perfect the way it is.
Right.
And, if it drives you that crazy, okay, get it changed. You look at someone like Nikki Glazer. She's changed her
Yeah.
face, and good
Yeah.
for you. That's what she wanted. That's what she needed to feel better. Cool. All I'm saying is Barbara Streisand, she said, no, I'm keeping
Right.
my nose, and I'm going to be as successful as I want to be with a nose or not.
He did it just fine.
And she is fine.
Well. Mm-hmm.
And so it's really, to who? Like, who are you? Why do you care? Based on what? Who says? And just because Joe Blow doesn't like it doesn't mean the man of your dreams is going to think you're the most beautiful thing he's ever seen in his life.
Right.
So
Right.
I'd say, yeah, give it some time to have some experiences, because I mean, if I would have let the kid in third grade rule my world, I would have been walking around thinking I have fat thighs for the rest of my life.
Right.
It's not
Right.
true. It was one
Right.
person's observation,
Mm-hmm.
and I did let it bother me. And then as my world became bigger, I realized, oh, like his opinion
Right.
was a teeny opinion that I took on. I don't even have to take that on. I could be, like that video of that little girl. She had the cute hair, and she's like, Mom, the guy at school said he didn't like my hair. And I told him, well, I like my hair. My mommy did my hair, and I like my hair because it's my hair. And she's like, yes, girl, yes, it is your hair, and you can like your hair, and he cannot like it, and that's
Right.
fine. That's his
Right.
opinion. It's not his hair. It's your body, your hair. And I was like, yeah.
Yes.
But anyway, so it's
And
yeah, it would be.
especially those of us who are believers, and maybe this can vary any religion, life after death, and consciousness, period. We are just kind of in a meat suit, is what I've
For
heard.
real, yes.
Like, we're just in this body right now. And, I don't know how that feels for non-believers, because maybe I can't go from there. But for me, I'm like, my spirit and my belief is that I am not just this body. This is just one experience. So what does it really matter? I'm taking care of it because I get to be in it right now. Um, but it is not like the most important thing about me.
Not at all. And I am not a believer in that way. And I do believe in like life force and energy and stuff. And
Right.
anytime I've been around, because I grew up on a hobby farm, an animal has passed,
Mm-hmm.
the second their life force is gone, they are an empty shell.
Exactly.
They are you can literally see it,
I know.
feel it, know that spirit is gone. That life force is gone. I don't know where it
Right.
went, but it's gone.
And for
And
me, having watched people and helped
yeah.
many babies die,
Mm.
adults and a lot of babies. I did do bereavement in the neonatal ICU, and I was a NICU nurse for 8.5 years, 9 years, around that. I've watched plenty of deaths, and that is exactly what it feels like. But I do feel their spirit after. I can feel it. Yes, it's palpable for me. That doesn't mean it's right, but this is what I feel. I literally, when I'm looking at the body, it is just a shell, and I feel them immediately. They're right out of their body, and then they begin to spread out, and I feel over time, let's say, the family is grieving and holding, and I will feel that that spirit is still in the room next to the mom or around the mom. And
Yeah.
then an hour later, the body is still being held maybe, and I go into the room and then the spirit is filling the room like particles. I can't see it, but this is what I feel. Like the whole room is now, the spirit is in the entire room, not just like a halo around the mom with the mom, and it's no longer in the body. And then more time passes, and then it's in the hallway and the room. And then it eventually spreads out so much that you feel like the spirit is completely gone, like disintegrated. But really, it's everywhere.
Everywhere.
So
Wow.
I feel I get goosebumps every time because I feel it every time. And I've felt it with family members, and I will look out and see, like, oh my God, they're in the trees, like the wind blowing. That's my thought.
Hmm.
And I'm like, oh my God, they're everywhere now. And then they begin to be so spread out that they are like literally one with everything, that it feels like they're nothing. So it's a strange feeling. And over the years, it's taken a lot of like processing to like figure this out. I'm like, oh, maybe that's where people say we are all one and nothing at the same time, because the longer someone has passed away and now they're gone, the more you feel like they're so far away, like they're just, but truly, they're actually encompassing like everything.
Mm-hmm.
But to us, in our humanness, in our body, it feels like they're gone. Like it, I don't even know. I don't know. When I'm gone, I'll haunt you, and I'll let you know.
Hey, Morgan. What?
Oh, I will. My uncle just passed away a couple years ago, and we knew he was going into hospice. It was my mom's brother. I lived with him. Carl and I lived with him for a time when we were young, renting out his basement, and he was the best. And he was my Uncle Bill. And so he was going to be put on a fentanyl drip so that he could pass. He was in a lot of pain, and he was just not going to eat anymore. And my mom was there, and my sister was there, and I was in Florida here. And we decided to FaceTime the day before he got hooked up, right? We didn't know how long it was going to take. And he was so funny. He's like this big Santa Claus, and he's telling me, hey, hey, Jules, I'm going to, it's a good thing you called me now because I might have been dead already. And he's joking and all this. He's making fun of the whole situation. And I'm laughing and crying at the same time. And because I know he's not going to wake up from this.
Yeah.
And he was just excited to not be in pain, and he was ready to go. And he said, I'll let you know that I'll pull your finger when you're sleeping. I'll let you know, that he's still around. And I said, please don't. Please don't do that. That is creepy. You're creeping me out. You can talk to me. Don't pull my finger.
Well, not at night. That's too scary.
Weirdo. And so we're laughing about that. Anyway, so the next day comes and he goes into hospice, whatever, and I had to work. And then the next time, or no, then I worked also the following day. And that's the day that I was leaving. And I always park and I face west. So the sun's going down, and I am walking to my car after my shift. And I remember getting close to my car and like crossing the area where we drive through down the ramp. And all of a sudden, I hear, Jules, it's so cool here. And I stopped mid-step, stopped, because it was his voice. And you hear your own voice in your own head. I mean, I do all the time. I have an inner monologue that doesn't stop. I heard his voice in my head. say out of nowhere, I wasn't even thinking about that.
Mm-hmm.
And immediately I was like, oh my God, he's passed. And I'm looking at this beautiful sunset and I started crying. And I got in my car and I called my mom immediately because I knew she was with him. And she was crying and she said, he just passed just right now. And she says, how do you know these things? This happened kind of with her mother as well, my grandmother. It's a very similar thing happened. And I said, I don't know. I don't know how, but I heard him say, Jules, it's so cool here. And she was just crying even harder. And I'm like, I don't know, this stuff happens to me all the time. But I knew that's how I knew he had passed. So, and then I started driving home and I'm like, wow, he's really spread out already. He's in the trees, he's in the air, he's everywhere.
Yeah.
And I was just crying the whole time. And I'm like, God, thank you. Thank you for talking to me, for telling me, I'm like, I can't wait to get there. So having those experiences is like so hard to deny because I've gone through a whole spiritual shift my whole life. And those things when they're personal and so palpable is just wild. It is wild. But I'm grateful. I'm grateful for it.
And still going back to we're worried about certain little things and they
Being in
really
your
don't
body.
matter. They won't
No,
matter.
it doesn't. It doesn't. He couldn't wait to get out of his. He was in so much pain and leave it behind. And then, it was very, very cool. So
Are
I
you
think we
writing
just
about this stuff too in your poetry?
I haven't put that stuff out. I just kind of like put it out whenever I feel or something comes up or I'm like, oh yeah, this reminded me. I had a lot of it was written and I threw it out a long time ago. I thought it was just nothing. Age does help. and now I don't even care what people think about it. I put it out there. I'm myself and this is who I am and my experiences and it's better than the therapy I've received. So getting those words and those feelings out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I have any poetry, but about death.
Or just how your spirituality has changed over the years.
It is incredible. It has changed a lot, a lot.
Now, if someone wanted to go and find your poetry, where would they find it?
Right now, what did I name myself? Oh, I changed it because I was writing so much and I am continuing to do so. Soul Scriber N. It's Soul, SOUL, SCRIBERN. RN for registered nurse.
Soul Scriber RN. I love that.
With the N on the end. So Soul Scribe RN.
Like on the TikTok?
On the TikTok.
On the TikTok?
On the TikTok.
I'm not on the TikTok.
Yeah, and I post randomly. I started reading some. And I don't really care what happens. It's just for me. So
yeah.
But if you feel like checking it out,
we're going to send people to the TikTok with the Soul Scriber RN. Or Soul Scribe RN.
Yeah, Soul Scribe RN.
I love that.
A little play on words.
It is a good play on words. I'm not on the TikTok, but I'll have to go on just to see.
You need to be on the TikTok. TikTok is life, girl.
Actually, yeah.
No cap. I'm beginning to talk like my children.
No cap?
You're so skibbity Ohio without having a TikTok. It's like, where's your Riz?
Okay, that one I actually know. Okay, so we can't leave until you do a Wisconsin accent.
Oh my God, I couldn't. I couldn't not do it for you. I swear to God, I've been dying this whole time, holding my tongue. God dang it.
What are you
going
going to bring,
basket.
Julie, what are you going to bring over for dinner tonight?
Oh, a casserole or something, you know. Or no.
Or no? Do we drive there together or no?
You know, I get car sick kind of. So we'll think about her. Yeah.
Thank you. That was fantastic.
My dad had a shirt when I was a kid. It used to say, "Take her easy, but take her." I'll never forget it. I'm sure he'd be horrified that that's like something I remember. He wore it a lot.
Take her easy, but take her.
Take her easy, but take her.
Hello, I'm a rapist, but not really, but it sounds like it.
Yeah, I'm a creepy old guy with knee socks and New Balances.
I saw something recently, and it was like this young man had asked out this girl, and she said no, and the auntie was like, "Okay, good. And now what's your next step?" And he said, I know, I got to keep trying. She was like, "No, she already gave you an answer. You let that one go." Like, you got
Yeah.
Being a stalker is not the next step.
Not a goal. Not a goal. No.
Oh, thank you for doing this with me.
Oh, it's so fun. We could talk for hours. We'll do another one.
Yeah, we'll just pick random topics and talk about them. I'm fine with that.
We could.
And that's a wrap on today's episode of Your Unapologetic Life. Thank you so much for joining me today and for being part of this empowering journey. Remember, you don't have to feel disgusted or out of control when looking in the mirror anymore. You can feel powerful, proud, and truly beautiful. If you're ready to change and step into your unapologetic self, I invite you to visit my website, morganbarkus.com, to schedule a call with me. We can chat and see if the 90-day coaching program is the perfect fit for you. Together, we can move you from feeling stuck to feeling empowered and radiant, from out of control to in your power. Don't forget to subscribe, share this podcast with your fabulous friends, and join me next time for more insights on living your best unapologetic life. Until then, keep shining bright, girl.